In exploring virtues, I end up feeling like I'm in a precarious position because I am not the most truly, fully virtuous person who has ever walked the earth, right? And nobody wants to feel that they're being hypocritical or being perceived that way. And so I sort of think about it. I'm like, you're out here talking about all this stuff on YouTube and wherever else, and at the same time, you're not always able to fully be that. And what occurred to me is you don't have to. There's a big difference between having integrity and sometimes acting out of character. There's some people, if there's just no integrity, that is their character. They're actually acting in character, and that sort of is the integrity of that system, right? Whereas if a person has and strives for some degree of integrity in their lives, if you're really trying to live most of the time to the best of your ability by the virtues and the values that you espouse, celebrate, whatever, you're going to act out of character at times. That's why we have that phrase. That's why we can say, this is very out of character for you. That's what you hope. You hope because that's like a guardrail on the road. You start scraping the guardrail, you need to straighten out and get back in the lane. And you have a lane and you can navigate it and you're effective. I think lacking integrity means you don't have a lane. You're veering all over the place. You're crashing right through the guardrails. And it's an important distinction because I was talking about this with regard to redemption and how a lot of people come out and enter the self-help space or put out videos or blog about these things. They haven't always lived perfect lives either, but we don't want to throw out the baby with the bathwater and say because a person's not perfect, then they shouldn't speak about striving for a more perfected state, right? There's a difference because none of us are ever going to get it 100% right. There is no perfect state. The most perfect state we know is death, right? We're not in a hurry to get there, are we? No, we like this. This is a fun experience being alive. So that being said, it's going to come with faults and flaws. It's not even a fault. It's a feature, right? So the key is to mind ratios, and this brings me around to the fact that I keep wanting to jump in and talk about ratios because that's one of my big, one of my key metrics, I guess is the way to put it. Oh, good thunder. The plants are happy today. Yeah, like in terms of being able to evaluate how much am I shitting myself and others, like ratios are one of the key metrics. I mean, most of the time, do you genuinely believe in what you say? Do you then try to act that out in real life? When you fall short or act against that, do you quickly try to course correct? And yeah, if I can say that, yeah, the vast majority of the time that's true, I think it's still reasonable to say that I have and act with integrity. And that is a top value for me. It really is right up at the very, very tippy top of my list of core values, because I don't think we can be what we are without it. You're just a patchwork of things that might be something if you can't integrate that and hold it together as a functional organization of aspects and traits. So yeah, I think we need integrity just to be functional adult humans. And I like that Chris Williamson cited that when he was asked what it means to be a man, and he went straight to integrity. I was like, oh, there we go. I know I've already talked about that in another video someplace, but yeah, I feel like that's really key. And then how do you define and monitor those levels of integrity in yourself and those around you? I think it's by ratio, and I think ratio applies to a lot of things. How do you define mental health? Well, there's a certain amount of how much of the time can you set an intent and follow through? How much of the time can you be comfortable with yourself? How much of the time do your relationships with others run reasonably smoothly? And are they, mostly fulfilling? Or are they exhausting? Are they heartbreaking? Are you falling short of your marks? These are the things to mind the ratios. And say, yeah, most of the time I'm getting along with people. Most of the time I'm getting my stuff done. Most of the time I'm living by my values. It's good. That's great. Just always be trying to keep that number high. And in doing that, I don't feel like such a fake. Because I know that everybody who does this, and everybody who's successful in whatever they do, have imposter syndrome, where I'm like, I'm a phony, I'm a fake, they're gonna find me out. You know what? I'll just out myself right now. I am a flawed human. I do not have this sorted out. And I don't think we have to. I think that's part of life's work, is to explore and discover and sort of try to tease out what is true and right and good for us, and the impact we have on the world, right? And yeah, it was going off for me while I'm milling around doing completely mindless and mundane things. This is always running in the background. And I felt like this was an important question for me lately, because I'm a little insecure about that. I'm like, out here talking this stuff, and what if people saw me at my worst moment? I'm like, what if you saw others at their worst moment? Would you judge their whole character by that? Or would you realize this is them having one of their worst moments, and this is out of character? And that's kind of what gave me the insight, was to say, yeah, we're all going to step out of character at times. It doesn't mean we lack integrity. It just means that we need to course correct and get back to it, and try to keep that to a bare minimum. And I know I'm doing that because when I look at it on the whole and I evaluate the ratios, I really am mostly living by this. And I'm honestly pressed to think of a time recently where I felt I wasn't. I feel like it's so constant with me now. It's just, you practice a thing, you develop a discipline, you build the skills to operate at a certain level, and over time you get strong in that. And sometimes we get strong in things we don't want. We get strong in being angry or sad or feeling defeated or overwhelmed or paralyzed. We can practice those skills and get strong at those things too. But that was another thing that came up for me. I think a lot of success in my life comes from choosing that I'm not going to put the resources to things that will get me an outcome that will only make me feel more trapped and downtrodden by it. And instead, it's like an act of defiance to say, no, take all that energy and all the resources that would go to that and put it toward something that would yield an outcome that would elevate me and give me more strength and more potential. And, pardon, and it would give me more of what I need to create possibility and achieve great things there. So, yeah, I think that's another case of saying, I'm not always going to get it right, but I'm always going to be trying to make the right choices. And I'm going to recognize that if I can do this the vast majority of the time with a minimum of exception and with quick correction and accountability, that was unlike me. I know it wasn't okay where I went off track here. I apologize. I own that. I try to make amends. I try to get forward. But then really try to get forward. Don't get hung up. We get hung up on our failures. It snags all the way down the line. We're going to fail. Failure is also not a fault. It's a feature. It's that we need to learn through trial and error. We need that experience, and it's part of what makes us human. And in being able to accept that as part of it's like your dashboard. It's the lights going off on the dashboard being like, hey, you're being a jerk, pull over. and to do that, and then to get sorted out and get on with it. And I'm hoping that I'm living by that reasonably well. I don't want to be talking about this stuff and then turn around and find out like I was just bullshitting myself and everybody else by extension. But yeah, to do these little evaluations and to say we're not always going to be what we aspire to be, but we are always responsible to aspire and strive toward that. So, my thought for the moment.